government and the extraterrestrials. And essentially the agreement says that we won't disclose your existence if you do not interfere in our society. And we allow you to operate from a designated base here in the United States. It's in the state of Nevada in an area called Area 51 or Greenland.
The extraterrestrials have complete control of this base, which is located in Nevada.
On October 14, 1988, an unprecedented 2-hour television special entitled UFO Cover-Up Live was aired simultaneously in the United States and the Soviet Union. Congenial host Mike Farrell from the popular MASH TV series proceeded to introduce a disclosure of sorts about UFOs and the extraterrestrial reality. 2 informants purported to be government intelligence operatives, introduced as Falcon and Condor, filmed in shadow and with their voices electronically masked, revealed the alien mystery for all the world to see. Although no live aliens consented to be shown on camera, a montage of artists' illustrations showed EBs, extraterrestrial biological entities, as benign guests of the United States government, going back to the Truman administration. Yet Falcon's explicit statement that these aliens had complete control over our nation's most highly guarded weapons installation, Area 51, remains a stunning and ominous revelation.
Now, Condor tells us about a deal our government made with the aliens.
From what he understands, an agreement signed between our U.S. government and the extraterrestrials. And essentially the agreement says that we won't disclose your existence if you do not interfere in our society. And we allow you to operate from a designated base here in the United States. It's in the state of Nevada in an area called Area 51 or Greenland.
The extraterrestrials have complete control of this base, which is located in Nevada.
The simultaneous broadcast of this program in both the United States and the Soviet Union suspiciously suggested high-level government collusion in its production. Clearly, UFO Cover-Up Live was a staged public relations event to sell gray aliens to the American and Soviet people, with an obvious subtext that these grays had favored nation status with our government's intelligence establishment. But despite this program's grandstand send-up for gray alien visitors, definitive proof of an extraterrestrial reality has yet to be revealed, leaving this an unresolved mystery for nearly 3/4 of a century. In 1947, just 2 years after the end of World War II, a sensational report of 9 unknown shiny objects buzzing Mount Rainier in Washington state spawned the mainstream media obsession with flying saucers. And just 1 month later, the United States Army further fanned the flying saucer fascination, claiming one such mystery saucer had actually crashed in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico. Of course, the Army was quick to recant its sensational report, stating the debris recovered was nothing more than a lost weather balloon. Yet, despite decades of countless eyewitness testimonies, the government has staunchly denied the existence of flying saucers and aliens from outer space ever since.
We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations.
None of the evidence that I have examined would indicate any proof at all that we are being visited by extraterrestrials.
We have not been hiding anything. The investigations have been made public. The explanations of those where there is a clear explanation have been made public.
All the same, the popular media has woven this flying saucer mythology into a grandiose merchandising phenomenon. Tales of alien bodies, human abductions, captured flying saucers, and secret technologies have come to dominate our nation's best-known urban legend, UFOs. And yet, for 70 years, UFOs and space aliens remain little more than idle entertainment conjecture. Either by accident or design, absolutely no conclusive evidence has yet been presented to prove that either flying saucers or extraterrestrials are a solid, legitimate reality. The official Obama White House response to the alien question was, "The United States government has no evidence that any life exists outside our planet, or that an extraterrestrial presence has contacted any member of the human race. In addition, there is no credible information to suggest that any evidence is being hidden from the public's eye." Of course, arriving so closely on the heels of World War II makes it rather suspect that those early flying saucer sightings were in fact classified test projects of very terrestrial technologies developed by competing military powers over the course of that conflict, especially considering the super-secret projects to develop America's atomic bombs and Germany's V-2 rockets. Thus, to label the sudden post-war rash of saucer sightings all across the country as visitors from outer space certainly smacks of a propaganda disinformation campaign designed to protect ongoing classified test operations. But for the sake of argument, despite the appalling lack of definitive evidence, let's assume intelligent extraterrestrial life, comparable to Earth humanity, actually exists. How do we approach this potential possibility? The famous post-war flurry of UFO sightings also suggests evidence of extraterrestrial planetary surveillance precipitated by multiple detonations of our newly designed atomic bombs. Is it mere coincidence that most UFO activity in the late 20th century began just 2 years after America began atmospheric testing of nuclear weapons? Detonation of the atomic bomb would have set off a light-speed electromagnetic pulse into deep space, indicating to any sophisticated intelligences observing that a primitive society on Earth was tinkering with more than just a military weapon, but the basic fundamental fabric of time, space, and gravity itself. In other words, exploding our fission bombs would have announced to the universe that human science was beginning to master physics that would ultimately allow creation of not just nuclear weapons, but the means to deliver them anywhere in space. Physics to make humans of Earth a potentially significant threat to other civilizations in space. By 1960s, with humans themselves poised to become spacefaring explorers, the newly created agency assigned with that task, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, commissioned the Brookings Institution to examine just what kind of overall social, political, economic, and theological impact the potential discovery of extraterrestrial life and inherent risk of space exploration might pose to our culture. A panel of scientists and sociologists at the Brookings Institution determined the human race was as yet still too medieval, primitive, and reactionary to deal with space aliens. The report stated, "Anthropological files contain many examples of societies sure of their place in the universe which have disintegrated when they had to associate with previously unfamiliar societies espousing different ideas and different life ways. Others that survived such an experience usually did so by paying the price of changes in values, attitudes, and behavior." And more recently, the late Stephen Hawking echoed that same concern.
So if aliens ever visit us, I think the outcome would be much as when Christopher Columbus first landed in America. which didn't turn out very well for the Native Americans.
Hawking went on to say, "We only have to look at ourselves to see how intelligent life might develop into something we wouldn't want to meet." Would extraterrestrials approach our world as benign visitors or fierce conquerors? While the notion of marauding aliens descending from outer space has been a popular melodrama theme since H.G. Wells wrote his classic science fiction thriller War of the Worlds more than a century ago, speculation about the benefits or hazards of alien contact remains a lively debate. Anyone who has traveled in a commercial airliner at 30,000 feet knows just how small and insignificant individual human beings truly are. At 30,000 feet, humans are invisible, less than microbes on the Earth's surface. And yet, one of these extraordinary earthbound microbes, named Dr. Stephen Greer, has put forth the astounding assertion that all extraterrestrials capable of visiting planet Earth are benevolent. That over the short course of his terrestrial experience, he has become personally convinced that Earth humanity is under no threat from so-called hostile extraterrestrials. Dr. Stephen Greer, since launching his Disclosure Project in 2001, has gained high-profile notoriety to raise public awareness of the UFO issue. For almost a decade, Greer has publicly lobbied to convince us that any extraterrestrial civilization sufficiently evolved to master interstellar spaceflight must be socially evolved in equal measure, benevolent, enlightened beings. While at first blush this seems a comforting assertion, common sense and critical thinking at least suggest exercising discreet caution with ET contact, considering how little practical experience earthbound humanity has yet gained in cruising the cosmos. Simple observation of the broad range of animal behavior on this planet alone, from gentle passivity to savage predation, clearly implies that a comparable range of behavior might be equally expressed in an even broader interstellar spectrum. But Greer argues that any ET civilization technologically mature enough to master interstellar space travel would have mastered equally high social skills, whereas warlike hostile alien civilizations would predictably self-destruct long before reaching such an advanced technological level. In other words, any ET visitor skilled enough to find our little planet spinning in infinite space must have therefore achieved high benevolent social skills. Based on this theory, Greer steadfastly lobbies against military space weaponization, which he labels xenophobic hysteria.
So I think we have to look at how does life evolve in the universe? Is that there is a morphogenic field propagation, but there's a selective process. That if you reach a certain point and you don't make it to what Michikaku calls a level 1 civilization that's peaceful and living in harmony with its environment and not destroying its planet, you don't make it any further. So we're a level 0 civilization. To get to a level 1, which is the minimum we have to get to survive this current period of time, we have to become peaceful on Earth and peaceful in space, and we have to bring out the technologies, and we have to end the era of endless war. It's required. And other civilizations have come this way before us, and if they don't get that right, they terminate. They destroy themselves. So this is what I call the selection of non-hostility in interstellar civilizations that is built into the system of the speed of light barrier. Because if you go beyond the speed of light and you still have this consciousness of violence, you're not going to survive very long because of the nature of that kind of technology being weaponized.
To at least give plausible credence to Dr. Greer's claims, how does he account for the chronic nature of Earth-bound humanity's predatory barbarism in the first place? For at least the last 6,000 years, the human species has expressed unremitting, escalating savagery, bows and arrows to atomic bombs. Dr. Greer's theory that potentially hostile ET civilizations would self-destruct before they fully acquired space travel technology remains just that, a theory. But a theory that fails to adequately address how any intelligent species naturally evolves antisocial psychopathic behavior in the first place. Archaic accounts worldwide tell of supernatural beings that came down from the skies to profoundly influence primitive human cultures. Sky gods, flying in dazzling machines, capable of telepathic communication, and able to magically manipulate physical reality. Gods now revered in myth, legend, and religion. The popular Ancient Aliens theory steadfastly clamors that humans were genetically engineered by these aliens from outer space, gods descending from the sky, which begs the question, does human behavior reflect the fundamental character traits of its creator gods? Is humanity's fundamental predatory behavior a character aspect of humanity's alien engineers? In other words, what if Earth humans were custom designed to be as savage as their alien creators? Surely this consideration alone suggests that not all of the inhabitants across the cosmos meet social standards we would classify as benevolent. On the other hand, if violent psychopathic human behavior is an aberration unique to this planet, would Dr. Greer's benevolent ETs not rightly avoid contact with such congenitally savage barbarians? With this in mind, considering Dr. Greer's benevolent alien theory, perhaps it's time we address the very real danger Earth humanity itself now poses to the rest of his benevolent cosmos. According to former Lockheed Skunk Works engineer Ben Rich, Earth humans now possess the technology to travel across the cosmos. So if, as Dr. Greer asserts, all extraterrestrial civilizations are gentle and peace-loving, would such civilizations rationally welcome barbaric, gun-toting, plunder-for-profit Earth humans into their neighborhood? Talk about obnoxious immigrants. We don't see ETs rushing here to enjoy multiculturalism. On the contrary, ET would do well to keep Earth humans safely quarantined on this little planet until we mercifully self-destruct or learn at least a minimum standard of civilized behavior. As well, if Earth humans aggressively pursue exporting their toxic behavior out into the cosmos, might an advanced, benevolent ET civilization not rightfully take steps to protect their world against our unwelcome invasions? Perhaps it's time we made a sober, honest self-assessment as contemporary human society in galactic terms, and then ask ourselves, who is the real enemy here? And as of this moment, this is not mere idle speculation. Transhuman technocrats of Earth are already planning their own space invasion. Genius inventor and transhumanist Ray Kurzweil currently proposes launching swarms of microbe-sized nanocomputers across the galaxy to infuse machine intelligence throughout a universe he considers neither intelligent nor awake.
In the future, everything will become intelligent. Nanobots will infuse all the matter around us with information. Rocks, trees, everything will become these intelligent computers. So at that point, we can expand out into the rest of the universe. We'll be sending basically nanotechnology infused with artificial intelligence. Swarms of those will go out into the universe, and basically find other matter and energy that we can then harness to expand the overall intelligence of our human-machine civilization. So the universe will wake up, it'll become intelligent, and that will multiply our intelligence trillions of trillions fold. You know, we can't really fully contemplate. And that's really the main reason this is called the singularity. But regardless of what you call it, it will be the universe waking up. So does God exist? Well, I would say not yet.
Of course, Kurzweil's proposed nano-invasion offers no consideration that other off-planet life forms might be harmed as a result of this project, or worse, that such an unprovoked intrusion might constitute a hostile threat, precipitating some kind of defensive retaliation. Again, we ask, who is the real enemy here? Actor and UFO researcher Dan Aykroyd stated the reason ETs avoid humans was because we are a violent species. They don't want anything to do with us. They watch us. There were 2 white orbs over New Jersey when the second tower went down on 911. They were on CNN for about 2 minutes. They never showed it again. Can you imagine what was going through their advanced minds when they saw what happened on 9/11? These humans crashing our highest evolution in aviation into our highest evolution in architecture and metallurgy, like kids wrecking toys in the sandbox. They are disgusted with us, and rightly so, because we are a depraved, disgusting species.
So this is something I feel like, if I was the president, and it's unlikely that that is ever going to happen.
You never know.
If I was the president...
It was unlikely that I was going to be president.
The moment I was inaugurated, my hand would just, it'd still be hot from touching the Bible, and I would immediately race to wherever they have the files about Area 51 and the UFOs, and I'd go through everything to find out what happened.
Right.
Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. Because that's the first thing that you would do.
It's at
the aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Now, you know, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, you know, that's what we're instructed to say.
From what he understands, an agreement signed between our U.S. government and the extraterrestrials. And essentially the agreement says that we won't disclose your existence if you do not interfere in our society. And we allow you to operate from a designated base here in the United States. It's in the state of Nevada in an area called Area 51 or Greenland.
The extraterrestrials have complete control of this base, which is located in Nevada.
So if the UFO Cover-Up Live documentary from 1988 was true, President Obama admitted aliens exercise strict control over us on national television 27 years later. If disclosure of an alien reality has been prohibited by a covert treaty agreement the United States government made with extraterrestrials nearly 3/4 of a century ago, just who, may we ask, is really in control of planet Earth today? Famed whistleblower Robert Lazar, a physicist employed at Area 51 who claimed actually working on captured extraterrestrial flying saucer technology, revealed in 1989 additional information that Falcon and Condor failed to mention, suggesting that aside from their proprietary claim to Area 51, these EB creatures have had a long-standing proprietary interest in the human species as well.
And there's a small segment of the United States government that makes scientific and technological judgments from a knowledge base that is not available to the general public. If the following information is true, the United States government also makes judgments on a historical, philosophical, and even theological level from a knowledge base that is not available to the general public. These are excerpts from some of that information. These beings said that they had been visiting Earth for a long time and presented photographic evidence which they contended was over 10,000 years old. There was an exchange of hardware and information in Central Nevada until 1979, at which time there was a conflict which brought the program to an abrupt halt. These beings conveyed information about the capability of affecting the human brain to anesthetize the human body. This is done without any physical contact from a remote source. For this anesthesia to be accomplished, the brain has to be in a relaxed state similar to that required for hypnosis. If the brain is subject to any external stimulation like stimulant drugs or loud music, this manipulation of the nervous system is ineffective. These beings said that man was the product of externally corrected evolution. They said that man, as a species, had been genetically altered 65 times. They refer to humans as containers, yet I don't know what we're containers of.
It's kind of difficult once you release the technology to be analyzed and give it to everyone. They can just run with it. You really can't keep the weapon potential hidden. You really can't. Look, with ET technology, you can literally rule the world.
In addition, former President Dwight Eisenhower's National Security Council advisor, Colonel Philip Corso, in his book, The Day After Roswell, bluntly stated, these extraterrestrial biological entities weren't benevolent alien beings who had come to enlighten human beings. They were genetically altered human automatons, cloned biological entities actually who were harvesting biological specimens on Earth for their own experimentation. As long as we were incapable of defending ourselves, we had to allow them to intrude as they wished. We had negotiated a kind of surrender with them as long as we couldn't fight them. As well, it should be understood, simply because a particular alien race does not openly attack Earth humanity does not automatically mean that ET race is in fact benevolent. We must carefully define benevolent. Certain research into ET activity, particularly chronic abduction accounts, suggests the human species may serve as a resource regularly harvested by aliens, like domesticated cattle. A respected researcher and abductee herself, Dr. Carla Turner, author of 3 books on the abduction phenomena, Into the Fringe, Taken, and Masquerade of Angels, stated just before her death in 1996, if we are indeed a multi-purpose resource for the aliens, one which they want to continue to use, could they be performing the various reproductive genetic procedures in order to make alterations in their livestock that better serve the uses for which we are harvested? On May 10, 1971, the noted British astrophysicist and astronomer Sir Fred Hoyle called a news conference and made the following startling announcement. Human beings are simply pawns in a great game being played by alien minds, which control mankind's every move. These alien minds come from another universe, one with 5 dimensions. These super-intelligent entities are so different from us that to apprehend them or to describe them in human terms is impossible. They have been here for countless eons, and they have probably controlled the evolution of Homo sapiens. All of what man has built and become was accomplished because of the tinkering of these intelligent forces. Over the course of history, global secret societies have been allegedly guided by a group of what are loosely called hidden masters. But are these enlightened ones highly advanced Earth humans, spirit entities, or extraterrestrials? In point of fact, one of these hidden masters, who is revered by international Freemasonry, is named Yoda, an ideologue who is not the spirit of a human, but the spirit of an alien being.
We also see it with World International Freemasonry, which is led by a group of what are called loosely the Hidden Master. It was revealed that one of these Hidden Masters of World International Freemasonry has a name, and he's called Yota, or Yoda, and is meant to be an ideologue, a spiritual entity that guides World International Freemasonry. And this Yota ideologue, or this Yoda entity, whatever you want to call it, is not actually the spirit of a human, but it's the spirit of an alien being.
Ancient text, written by first-century Middle Eastern Gnostic scholars, reveals knowledge of an intrusion upon Earth humanity by malevolent, parasitic, extraterrestrial invaders called Archons, who use Earth humans as puppets in a vast, centuries-old game of deception and domination. An alien force that intrudes subliminally upon the human mind and deviates our intelligence away from its proper and sane applications. They make us play out our inhumane behavior to weird and violent extremes. Archons are psycho-spiritual parasites. We see a classic example of Archon manipulation portrayed in 2012's science fiction adventure film, John Carter.
We've been playing this game since before the birth of this planet, and will continue to do so long after the death of yours. We don't cause the destruction of a world, Captain Carter. We simply manage it. Feed off it, if you like. But on every host planet, it always plays out exactly the same way. Populations rise, societies divide, wars spread. And all the while, the neglected planet slowly fades.
In researcher George Andrews' classic book, Extraterrestrial Friends and Foes, aliens themselves offered telepathic insight as to just how a massive, covert invasion of planet Earth could be successfully perpetrated. If you were a highly advanced culture about to invade a relatively primitive culture, you would not do it with a flourish of ships showing up in the heavens and take risk of being fired upon. That's the type of warfare less evolved mortals would get into. After you had manipulated the population to the point where your covert control over it was complete, you might decide to go overt and let a few ships land in public. But you would not go from covert to overt unless you were sure of the totality of your control. Humanity is not about to be invaded. Humanity is not in the middle of an invasion. Humanity has been invaded, and the invasion is nearly in its final stages. Great invasions do not happen with thundering smoke and nuclear weaponry. That is a mark of an immature society. Great invasions happen in secrecy. So, as we see, the alien question is certainly not a simple cowboys and Indians scenario. There are multiple levels of complexity to this issue that challenge the very core of humanity's social structure. In fact, the very core of our individual identities. Complexity that makes disclosure of an alien reality one of the most explosive political issues imaginable. Obviously, an infinite universe potentially contains an infinite spectrum of life forms, ranging from benevolent to hostile, to indifferent to incomprehensible. Indeed, Earth humanity may well be some other advanced ET's genetic experiment. With this world a vast petri dish where an infinite variety of genetic permutations can be engineered. Conversely, to what lengths would competing world powers go to secure advanced weapons superiority? Would global political leaders be seduced into selling out their respective populations to deceptive, hostile aliens just to gain a military hardware advantage? As well, What use is that military hardware against enemy aliens capable of controlling our minds from a remote source, or who already have complete control over our nation's most sophisticated weapons installation? Or worse, if a hostile alien force already fully controls this planet, might they not use such advanced weaponry to keep this world out of the hands of benevolent aliens? At this moment, humanity is locked in a struggle for its very survival. Never has it faced such a multitude of existential threats: social and environmental deterioration, belligerent imperialism, global nuclear weapons proliferation, not to mention encroaching cybernetic tyranny. Never has humanity been in greater need of assistance from benevolent aliens than at this moment. But as Dr. Stephen Greer admonished, to save itself, humanity must rally its own collective character of social decency to at least meet a minimum standard of civilized behavior worthy of benevolent alien contact.
Each passing year has seen our estimate of the probability of life in space increase, along with our capabilities of detecting it. More and more scientists feel that contact with other civilizations is no longer something beyond our dreams, but is a natural event in the history of mankind.
I don't think we should wait until the encounter occurs, but that we should do all in our power to prepare ourselves for it. The manner in which we first meet may determine the character of all our subsequent relations. Let us never forget the fatal impact we've had upon innumerable peoples on this earth, people of our own species who've trusted us, befriended us, and who we destroyed by our thoughtlessness and insensitivity to their needs and their vulnerabilities. The simple truth is that before we can communicate with others successfully, we must first learn to communicate with ourselves successfully, and we are a long way from having achieved that. Perhaps that is where we ought to begin, with ourselves.